Hey everybody, this is your girl Tanima, and welcome to day one of 50 days before I'm 50. So I decided on this day one, I felt it would be befitting that this day one is surrounding around God. Because I felt day one kind of coincides with God, because without God I would not exist, at least for me as a person that believes in God. But one of the things that I learned in my 50 years is that your relationship with God is a predetermined like an arranged marriage. How God is brought into your life initially is devised by your parents or whomever you were brought up with, or even if there was a relationship with God at all. It wasn't until I got much older that I started to understand that my relationship with God was just that. It's my relationship with God, and it wasn't something that could be predetermined or prearranged. You know, it's funny because I was a girl that grew up Catholic, went to a Catholic school, and those that are Catholic, the monotone way of how God is brought into your life, and how it's structured, and the nuns and the priests, and the way in which Catholic masses go. You never really understand mostly that there's a message somewhere in there. I mean, those that do attend Catholic Church understand that there's a portion within the Mass where the Father is giving what he calls a sermon. But I often wondered, like, I would listen, but then I wasn't listening because it really wasn't getting anything from it. As I got older, I tried to understand, like, what was God's relationship with me, like what was his purpose. And I remember thinking to myself, when you would hear the priest say, "Let us pray," I thought to myself, like, how's God going to hear everything I'm saying? If all these people are in here praying, and then what was I praying for? I mean, I remember, being a kid in middle school, going to church, and I went to church with my family, and I just remember, God, please, make sure the line's not too long at the IHOP, because my dad would always take us out to breakfast after church. Then it turned into that was the purpose in going to church, is because I wanted breakfast. I did not understand prayer. I didn't understand what God's purpose was with me. And it wasn't until much later that I started to understand that there was a relationship here. So this might sound a little funny to you, but I'm going to use this as an analogy of my relationship with God, is that I felt like he was my boyfriend. We talked once in a while. He was there for me when I needed him once in a while. But then, the relationship became strained. I kind of felt like he wasn't giving me what I needed. So I kind of felt like instead of me breaking up with him, he was breaking up with me. As my life became more and more difficult, I started to think to myself, what if I was a better girlfriend to him? Would my life have been any different? As I continued on in my relationship, I started to question, what he was doing to me. I felt abused. I felt like a girl that was in a relationship that couldn't let go because I felt that tomorrow would be different. So as I moved into my 20s and into my 30s, life was taking more and more of a downward spiral. And God just, to me, didn't seem around. So as I moved forward, the biggest blessing in my life that came was the birth of my daughter when I was 30 years old. But it didn't come how I had always dreamed it would be. I wanted to experience what we see on TV, where you're with this great guy and, you have this amazing reveal that you're pregnant, and the two of you cry together and love together. The day I told my daughter's father that I was pregnant, he was packing up to leave. This would be an experience I would never ever have in my life. I would never ever ever again have the ability to have that special moment with a man, as my ability to have more children was taken away from me. But what if I would have done it different? What if the vision and the way in which I saw God, I allowed him to guide me to have a better experience? What if? As I moved along in my 30s, they were pretty much a blur. It was the relationship was me and my daughter. There was no real man in my life. I dated here and there, but I started to experience some other things health-wise. I gained an enormous amount of weight and found comfort within my relationship and my daughter and food. But as time went on, a man did come into my life, and that man even made my life even worse. So I started to wonder, I'm sorry, there's a fly. I started to wonder, well, where's God? I mean, I didn't feel like I ever broken up with him, but I mean, maybe he broke up with me. Like I didn't know, or maybe I was just neglecting him. But I kind of felt like, and it's almost is like how I feel about men today. I kind of feel like you're the chaser. You should be coming after me. I felt God should be contacting me, not me contacting him. But as I moved on and things began to get worse and worse, where's God? How does he let me go through multiple miscarriages? How does my ability to have more children be taken away? Where is he? So as time went on and things started to happen and things started to get worse, but what was happening is that I could not see the balancing of what was going on because I was so caught up in what I felt should be right. But what if I had never felt that he left? What if I dug deep within my spirituality and said, look, you need to do something. I need to turn this to you and I need you to fix it. But I chose to ignore him. And I chose to ignore the fact that God actually never left. It wasn't until my late 40s that I understood by the sermon of T.D. Jakes about the Apostle Paul that there are times when God is going to say no. And when you read about the Apostle Paul and understand that we all have a thorn inside of us, something that keeps us crying in the middle of the night, it is not God's way of turning his back on us. It is just we have to turn to him. I understand now that we are always to lead by faith and never by sight, but I just all those years couldn't get that. But what if? What if I strengthened my relationship with God instead of decreased it? What would be different? Or is this how God intended it to be? Am I exactly where I am? Am I recording this video because he knew I needed to go through what I had to go to give this message to you? There will be times when God says no. There will be times when God will take you on a journey that you will swear that the devil is more prevalent than God. And I realized something else is that if you live by the theory of God and God's grace, you have to understand how special you are when he trusts you with a whole bunch of trouble. He had to predetermine that you would be cool with what he was about to give you. It's like the ultimate job interview, You got to think about it. If God is checking you out, seeing how you move, making sure things are going this way, that way, he's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to give this to her because I believe she can handle it. You know, I have not set foot in the church in God knows how many years, but I will tell you this much. I believe in my faith in him is stronger than ever. I watch the things that I go through, but I watch the balances happen. And at 49 and about to be 50, this is in 17, in 49 days, I will be 50 years old. I understand that there is going to be times when God says no. There are going to be times when no matter what you want, it's just not going to always work out. How unfair you may seem, and how things you may seem to watch people around you, it's just not your time. You know, I still struggle sometimes with this whole theory of, you know, people saying, oh, everything you do, you know, you're going to be really blessed. You know, I never understood that. Like, I don't quite know what that means or doesn't mean, because who decides what's a blessing and what's not? Even to this day, on this December 17th, 2018, I still struggle with a lot of things. A lot of things are going on in my life, and all I've been doing is just praying for 2019 to be balanced so that I can focus more on other things. God will give you a lot of challenges, and he's watching how you handle those challenges. And you know, he always says, you know, you can object to a lot of things, but he has the right to overrule everything. So I leave you with this day one by saying, you know, never give up on your faith, whatever that faith is, in even the worst of times. Don't think that you're being under attacked by anything because of something that's happening to you out of your control. If anything, turn to your faith and don't give up, and turn to yourself and believe in your faith will get you through whatever it is you are trying to do. Try not to live too much in 2019 with the what if, because what if will make you look back on everything and think, could my life have been different? So tomorrow, on day 2, we talk about the what if when it comes to sacrifice. I'm going to share with you tomorrow one of the most ultimate sacrifices I've ever had to make in my life. Let's see what happens with that.